This is my guide to the trial of the Ancestors League mechanic, Path of Exile's 3.22 expansion. The League mechanic itself is based on an auto-battler, something like TFT, but being Path of Exile, it's a lot more involved. For starters, you're not going to be sat on the sidelines, you're going to be out there fighting with your troops. Your ultimate objective to win the tournament one battle at a time. And whilst on face value it looks quite simple, behind the scenes there's an awful lot of tactics going on. When I first started playing, I was really frustrated. I lost almost every tournament. Since then, I've learnt a lot, and I've started to win. I'm here to pass on my knowledge so that you can hit the ground running. This mechanic is so different to what we've seen before, and so refreshing that it's my favourite League mechanic I think of all time. At the start of each battle, you'll get a screen like this. It tells you who you're going to fight, and the two types of rewards you're going to get. Your first type of reward is Favour. This is a temporary currency that lasts throughout a tournament. Once the tournament's over, all Favour will be reset to 0. Favour is used to purchase new troops, upgrades and items, and it's split between each of the ancestors. The amount of Favour you collect will influence whether you win or lose the tournament. To win, you're going to need an awful lot of it. The reward in the second column is the thing that has value to you long term. This seems to be mostly currency or tattoos, although you can get unique items. What you have to do is balance the actual long term reward with Favour. Unless the long term reward is going to be Chaos or above, I will tend to always choose based on Favour. Just be aware that choosing that Chaos could cost you the tournament. When you're choosing which Favour reward to pick, it's not just all about the number. You see, different troops have different Favour investment, and you can only get those troops from a particular NPC. So you're going to want to make sure that when you get this Favour, it's with an NPC you already have Favour with, so you can start to get their better and better troops. You can trade Favour between NPCs by buying something that one has and selling it to the other you want Favour with. But there's a catch. You'll only get half the Favour you actually paid to buy the item. If you win the battle, you will get both the Favour and the reward from the row you choose. If you lose, you will get nothing. Well, almost nothing. Navalia will give us 250 Favour regardless of whether we win or lose a match. And this is also enough to get a single troop from her. It's not as good as it sounds because her troops, well, are frankly woeful. People that you buy from the ancestors themselves all have special abilities. Navalia's on the other hand have nothing. They're just fodder. So what is a battle and how do we win one? Battles are made up of 2 teams. Each team can have up to 16 people plus a leader. On the strategy screen at the start of each match, you'll get to choose exactly where to put your army. Each team's side is split up into 4 categories. The front row is the attack category. In the middle, you've got these 4 escort categories. And on the back row, you have defenders. And then on the side of each of your teams, you have 2 flank positions. When you place people in these positions, you're actually placing a totem. The totems act as a starting point for each team member, but also the site at which they'll respawn if they're killed. This includes you. Do note that you cannot set the starting point for the leader of each group, that is automatic. The whole objective of each match is to go over to the enemy's side and remove their totems. This isn't done through damage, this is done by channeling. You too can channel the enemy's totems by left clicking on them and holding down the button. This will cause the totem's life to plummet. When it reaches 0, the totem will collapse. When a totem is destroyed, the enemy attached to it also is destroyed. And as the totem that normally respawns them is destroyed, they also can't respawn. So that sounds simple. Run over to the enemy team and just channel the totems. Not quite. While channeling a totem, you become vulnerable to a special kind of stun that only occurs within the League mechanic. If you're hit by any enemy attack or spell, you will be stunned for 5 seconds. You cannot shorten this with the normal anti-stun mechanics. Getting stunned for 5 seconds is very, very dangerous. It leaves you open to be absolutely destroyed by the enemy team because you can't really defend yourself. And if you die, you'll lie on the floor until you respawn. Only if someone's channeling your totem, or there happens to be an enemy combatant that's channeling you to prevent you respawning, this could be a very, very long time indeed. And by the time you do respawn, your forest of totems could have been utterly destroyed. And that's because you, as well as the enemy leader, who happens to be one of the ancestors, are the strongest people on your team, by far. In fact, you could quite easily destroy the whole enemy team if it wasn't for the leader. They have a ton of hit points and a load of powerful attacks. They can kill you if you're not careful. And just a note on death while we're on the subject. This mechanic is very odd, in that you die when you enter. Yeah, it's not real. However, if you die while in this area, it doesn't count as a death. This means that the death penalty will not apply, and you'll just respawn as if nothing had happened. This also means that in hardcore, you will not die while running the lead mechanic, which is good because it kills you quite a lot. Now, just going back to the stun for a moment that occurs when you hit an enemy that's channeling, or the enemy hits you when you're channeling. Firstly, the stun on the NPCs is far less than the stun on the player, so just be aware of that. Secondly, it's actually got to be a hit that interrupts it. Damage over time will not do this. I'm running a cold dot build and it's a nightmare to stun them. I have to hit them with shield charge before I put my cold on them. So let's talk about the strategy for you for a moment. And to help you understand this, let's talk about what the troops are really good at first. The troops are really good at intercepting and delaying enemy combatants. They're also incredibly effective at destroying enemy totems. And so, well, we need to do everything else, which is control the enemy team and banish them as quickly as possible. What I found works really well is to go towards the centre of the arena and just try and stop people heading over to your side of your base. Keep an eye on your minimap because as your totems are getting attacked, you'll see little X's flash on them, and that tells you need to go over there and stop whoever's doing it. When you banish an enemy combatant, they will disappear for a short period of time before respawning. Each time you kill them, this time increases. This means that the game will start off really hectic and slowly slow down. The longer you fight, the easier it will be to destroy the totems because you'll be banishing people more often. The only time I'll try and destroy an enemy totem is if they have flankers. And we'll talk about the positioning now, which is really important. And let's talk first about the flanker position. Combatants in this slot will automatically go around the edge of the field to try and destroy a totem. This works really well for troops that can teleport or that can stealth. We won't have any of these at the beginning of the game, but I always put my first 4 troops into flank positions. And that's because our primary concern is destroying the enemy totems. Anything we can do to increase that chance, that's what we do. The second category for troops is the attack position. Troops in this slot will move forwards directly and attack anything coming inbound. If everything inbound has been destroyed, they'll go and hit on totems. The next category is the escort category. This is your entourage. They will follow you around the field and, well, help you. So getting characters in this position that can help draw enemy fire is going to be very beneficial for you. Also, monsters that delay respawn are also very useful. If you kill a load of the enemy, your entourage will then stop them respawning for a period. So far I've named each of the categories in the order in which I populate them, which means that lastly we have the defenders. This seems to be a particularly weak class. That's because they will never leave the base, they just sit there looking to defend it. So if the enemy destroy all your attacking positions and all your flank positions, your defenders will not go and capture their turrets, leaving it all to you, which means we're probably going to fail. Now that's not to say defenders are useless, they will actually help if you've got strong defenders. But I only use it as a last resort because I'd rather have mobile people trying to attack the turrets. On to spending favour now and building the army of your dreams. Or the army you can pull together, because you chose shiny over favour. Now from favour you can buy 3 different kinds of things. 1. Troops. 2. Items for troops. Or 3. Field supplies. The most important thing we can do early is to build our army. So spend all of your favour early on troops, nothing else. If you get to the end of the tournament and you've got really good troops in each slot, then you can start buying items. When you buy the items, you slot them into the little slot next to the person. When you put them on the field, they'll then have this buff as well as their normal buff. The last thing is field items. These take up a totem slot, so will prevent you adding an extra troop if you put them on the field. Secondly, they're single use. Once they're used, that's it, they disappear forever. Except for a few of the more powerful ones, I would tend to leave these alone. And by more powerful, I mean things that actually revive people or revive totems. To use these, you need to go to them in combat and click the little icon, and that will activate them. As I mentioned, you want to get all of your favour to a small number of the ancestors and not spread it too thin. The more favour you have on a single ancestor, the more powerful troops you can buy. The more powerful troops are obviously the more expensive. The troops I tend to go for are the ones that prevent reviving. That's not to say they are the best, it's just the ones I've had most success with. If you've had a success with a different flavour of troop, then please let me know in the comments and we can share that with the community so everyone does better. What we're going to talk about now is the difference between a battle and the tournament. Battles are self-contained. If you pass over a battle within a tournament, you're not guaranteed to get the same rewards again, so if you get a divine early, try and lock it in. Favour and anything you can buy with it will pass between battles within a tournament. Once the tournament ends, everything is gone. This means that you should spend as much as your favour as you can and don't leave much left over, even if this means trading it between NPCs even though you lose half of it. Now that's not to say there is no progression between tournaments, there is. Depending on how hard you fought, win or lose, you will be offered a set of troops to carry forward into your next playthrough. The tournament will end for the player or an NPC when they lose 2 matches. The first one, you're allowed. The second one, you're out. You can tell if one of the ancestors is about to be knocked out because it will have this symbol next to their name on the reward screen at the beginning of a battle. When I've played NPCs towards the end of the game, the ones that don't have this symbol tend to be the harder to fight. Obviously my sample size is kind of small at this point, so more input is needed. However, I do tend to leave these now until someone else knocks them out and then I'll fight them. Each of the ancestors has their own unique set of attacks. One of them is chaos based, and early it's really hard to fight. So once you learn which ancestors are the hardest for your build, avoid them. You might just get lucky and someone else will wipe them out. One thing we haven't talked about yet is what determines the difficulty of these battles. Unlike normal League mechanics, these aren't tied directly to your character's level. They're tied to your rank within the League mechanic. This can be found on the bottom right of the reward widget as shown here. Also, how far into the tournament you are will affect how difficult the battle is. The ones at the beginning are fairly easy, the ones at the end much harder. Once you complete the last match in a tournament, you will get a special set of rewards on top of those that you were offered at the beginning. You get to choose between 2, the one on the left and the one on the right. So far, the one on the left for me has always been either a special kind of tattoo, or it's been a League specific unique. The item on the right has always been an omen, and it hasn't been a good one. However, there are good ones out there, such as the one that guarantees that your next fusing will 6-link. That's worth a fortune. All battles occur in the Halls of the Dead. To get there, click on a silver coin in your hideout. Note that this will not consume the coin. Enter the portal. After this, you'll get an icon on your minimap to jump back here later. Once you get here, go straight to the Well of Passing. When in this next room, you'll now see NPCs. This confused the hell out of me because none of them did anything. What you got to do is go all the way to the far side of the arena until you find the Eye of Destiny. This is where you enter a fight. It will cost you 1 silver coin each time you enter for each battle you run. If you run out of coins, you will not be able to re-enter. Something you should be aware of now. Your flash charges will not recharge between battles in the Halls of the Dead. To recharge them, you should go back to your hideout. Whilst inconvenient, it may just save you losing a battle because you were unprepared. You've been watching Altec2k. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, then please tickle that like button, it'll like it a lot. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.